I'd like to start this particular session with an acknowledgement of the land that I'm on. And the land that all of us are on is Indigenous land. I'm a white settler. My ancestors came over primarily from Scotland. And I'm on this land, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Nova Scotia, Canada is how we know it now. And this was land that was never ceded, it was never given over. The treaties that happened here in the 1700s were around a relationship between equals, an ongoing relationship between nations, to bring to mind that we are settlers on ancestral land. And when we look at that in terms of how we walk on the earth, many of us have completely not known about this or forgotten about it, or it's never been something we've really brought to the forefront. So I'd like to keep weaving this in a little bit, even if it's not something we're speaking about directly each moment of this inquiry, but to acknowledge and to let that really settle in. What does that mean? I'm a settler on this land. All gifts are multiplied in relationship. This is from Robin Wall Kimmerer's Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teaching of Plants. So Robin is an Indigenous scholar, a doctorate in biology, something related to biology, and she's also an Indigenous elder. And this whole book is different reflections on connection with Earth. We could start with that. The Earth has plenty and offers us abundance, spreading her gifts over the green. Cherries, strawberries, raspberries, blueberries, currants, that we might fill our bowls. There's a generosity and a reciprocity here. And a lot of Indigenous cultures, there's a giving away of abundance, a generosity there. And that if you have a lot to give, it's a pleasure and an honor to give back. It's a very different environment than what many of us are used to. And this last line, we dance in a circle, not in a line. There's a connection there. So the three sisters, corn, beans, and squash, are a way of coming into this circle, this layers of reciprocity. And the beauty of the partnership is that each plant does what it does to increase its own growth. And when an individual flourishes, so does the whole. I'm using this teaching as a stepping off point into knowing our own gifts and how to use that in the world. The individuality is cherished and nurtured because for the whole to flourish, each of us has to be strong in who we are and carry our gifts with conviction so that they can be shared with others. What is my unique gift to share? Let's pause here and do some inquiry. Bring your attention into your body, your breath. Take a few breaths. And when there's an abundance, it's easier to breathe deeply. What is my unique gift to share? So in this Three Sisters, the corn is the strong pole. It reaches up into the sky. It starts its germination quickly and up it goes. And then as the bean comes along, it takes a little bit longer. The bean starts to weave around. And if you've ever seen a bean plant, there's a tendril at the end that kind of just goes a little bit with the breeze, and then it lands on something. So in this case, it lands on the corn. And then really rapidly it grows up because now it has support. And the squash stays right on the ground. One of the ways that it contributes to the partnership is that it keeps the weeds down. It shades the ground, so it's cooler. What holds you back? It might be a lack of a strong support. Let's sit with this for a few minutes. And if you think about something specific, a specific gift, maybe you have an interest in going and helping children learn to read, but you've got a lot of social anxiety and that's holding you back. Maybe you want to volunteer at the animal shelter, or maybe you have a neighbor who that needs a little bit more company. What is it that holds us back? So let's start with the gift, something really specific. And as you let that into your body, you notice the energy of that in your body. Is there any reluctance, resistance? Does your body tighten at all? If you imagine yourself with this unique gift, sometimes when we offer our gifts, we're met with rejection. There could be a hesitation because of that. Maybe someone made fun of you. We let that cook for us in a minute, just in our own body and our breath, our mind, our thoughts. What's the energy of that? What is it that's holding me back from more freely offering my gifts into the world? And then imagine yourself stepping forward. Maybe you're the strong support. Maybe you need a stronger support. Maybe you prefer to be the one that shades the ground and keeps the weeds down. Who are you in partnership with? But how could you bring this forward? And what does that feel like? What do you see in your mind, feel in your heart? If thoughts come up, we can look at them like, oh, interesting. Lots of times it's some past traumatic history, and we could work with that once we know that that's what's holding us back. If you were to flourish, who else would flourish? How would sharing your gift more fully help others to flourish as well? Maybe you have an idea for writing a book or for sharing your healing. You've written a book and now you're manifesting that out into the world. You're sharing that out into the world. Now, how is it that this offering is helping the whole flourish as well? When any time we do a somatic inquiry, we're really looking to see what's the response in our body, what are the associated thoughts. And then once we have a sense of, I'm feeling a little uncomfortable about this, and I'm also feeling strong enough that I could move forward. Maybe I need to reach out to that person who has a strong spine and is really encouraging. Maybe I need to limit my time around that person who's negative. How could you step forward more fully and flourish and help others flourish as well? Be strong in who we are. Letting that move to the side. Modern agriculture shows a story about people who value uniformity and the efficiency it yields. A story in which the land is shaped for the convenience of machines and the demands of a market. And what came to mind for me when I was thinking about that was our school system. Certain children thrive in that system. I was one of them. I learned well in that system. I had a pretty reliable safety at home, so I could sleep at night. I was verbal. I was one of those people that thrived in that. However, when we're rewarded only for one part of who we are, then it's hard to believe in our whole goodness, in our whole system, our whole complexity, what we bring to the table. As I was moving into my teen years and then as I was coming out as a lesbian, all of a sudden I didn't fit very well. So that machinery, that culture, that conditioning was spitting me out and going, no, you're not okay here. So let's do this as our inquiry then. How have I been conditioned and molded into uniformity for efficiency? She talks about how indigenous agriculture modifies the plants to fit the land, and they have many varieties of domesticated corn that are adapted to grow in many different places. So they're not looking for that uniformity. They're cultivating relationship and individuality together. This is a harsh process, this conditioning to be all the same. Let yourself feel that. What does that feel like in your body? In these ways, I wasn't welcome to show up as who I am. I wasn't fitting in with what the general culture told me was acceptable. And then how can we move into honoring our own unique individuality and in relationship with others? We really have to be pretty steady on our feet, grounded in our body, emotionally self regulated in order to really risk showing up as who we are. And how can I honor my own individuality? How can I not sell myself out in order to fit in? How could I stop pressuring myself to conform? Or how can I be in relationship with others without needing them to conform? So this is reciprocity of freedom. I allow myself to be free and I honor that freedom and authenticity in others. And I'm sure we all have many memories of not fitting in. Sometimes we took a risk and expressed who we were. Sometimes that worked out, sometimes it was not welcomed. But now, right now, as an adult, maybe we've found some people that we fit in with now. Maybe we're still in a lot of environments where our full self is not really welcome, whether that's our sense of humor or our values, whatever that might be. So imagine some very specific steps that you might take. And it might be internal, nobody else might know what's going on. It might be that you're sitting there thinking, well, this is not a situation where I'm comfortable expressing who I am, and I'm not going to turn against myself because of that. There's nothing wrong with me. This is just an environment where it's not welcome. I'm still okay. Let's work with that for a few minutes. Continue to notice your body. Take a few breaths if you've been holding your breath. Let your body and breath expand a little bit. Take a few deep breaths. I'm moving out into honoring myself, my individuality, my unique expression of who I am. Let yourself feel that freedom in your body. The three sisters have all brought their gifts to this table, but they've not done it alone. Planter is also an essential partner. We are midwives to their gifts. Our own good heart, our own intention, our own love and support for ourselves. That's what helps us to express our gifts and what encourages others to know that it's safe enough for them to be on their own side, to express themselves fully. Let's sit with this as our last inquiry. What are some steps I can take to nurture my gifts and of those around me? So, some of it we could stop, like shaming. If we have a mean inner critic or if we're critical of other people, we could work with stopping that. And then to open into how could I nurture and support abundant growth? Notice your breath. Notice what it feels like just to entertain that as an intention, nurturing and supporting my growth, growth of others. Let yourself feel the ease. Sometimes the more specific, the better. There's a freedom and an openness that we can invite in. Then also to come into some specific step that we could take. Maybe as we could phone our friend and encourage them to take that course they're wanting to take. What comes to mind? Whatever it was that was coming up in the earlier part of that around your gifts, how could you step forward? Ask for some support to bring your gift more fully expressed, fully into the world, fully into your heart. Let yourself feel that in your whole body, your breath, your mind, your heart. How can I nurture and support abundant growth?